All right, guys, how's it going out there? Rooster here in Tennessee, roostercb.com with one of our overview slash let's take a look videos. And this one's one that I've been pretty excited about, but haven't had time to get around doing a video on it. So this is the new Ranger RCI 29 base. If it looks familiar to it, it's because it's on the same kind of cabinet, I guess you'd say, as the Galaxy 2547, but this thing is far from the same as a 2547, which is, we'll get into that during the video here. Lots of cool features on it. Nice radio. Keeping one of these for myself. I like the compact design that the 2547 has, but with this, you get a lot more bang for your buck, a lot of power, and a lot of good features built into this guy. AM, sideband, and FM. For those that like to operate on every mode, and we'll just go on and get into it here. A few things about it. Looking from the outside, you can see a lot of the controls are different. Doesn't have nearly any of the controls are the exact same as they were on the 2547. Sure, camera's as straight as we can get it with the eye test here. It does have a dual fan kit on the back, which is great because it is a high power radio. So the fan kit will come in handy on keeping this thing cool. You can barely hear it. We power it up here. You can't even hardly hear the fans running. So that's a great thing. 6-digit freak counter, which is also a huge plus with the white LED display, along with white LED meter light on our big, beautiful signal meter on this thing, which is another thing. It's just a huge plus for me. I keep wanting to call it a 2547, but these 29 bases and the 2547, for what it's worth, have probably the best looking modern signal meter on any radio out there. Has 4 feet on it. We've got the 2 feet in the front propped up right now, keeping it propped up. You don't have to use those if you don't want to. You can, set it however. One major benefit of this radio is it will run off of AC or DC. So yes, technically, if you want to, you could pick this thing up and throw it in your mobile and use it. Or if you're somebody that has, power goes out in your area a lot, maybe you're in an area that has rough winters and stuff, you can run this thing off a battery and still have communication. So I know here in Tennessee, in the last couple of years, there's been some times where we went without power for, 3 or 4 days at a time. And if you didn't have a radio that ran off batteries, then, you were out of luck as far as talking on the radio, which I know there's other things that people have to worry about when your power's out, but it would be nice to have some sort of two-way communication besides a cell phone, because again, you can lose cell phone service just like you can anything else. So they will run off of AC or DC. During this video, we'll run it off of AC just for our power output and then things of that nature, but it will be running off of AC in this video. That's pretty much it as far as just the exterior of it. It does come with an AC and a DC power cord. It comes with a plastic Ranger stock mic. I recommend, as I usually do, Superstar DM507. Pretty hard to beat as far as microphones go for these radios, or any other radio for that matter. They match up pretty well with most any radio. But before we get into the performance, which will be on down the line, I do want to say this is one that has been tuned, optimized. It's been worked on, of course. Don't buy one of these brand new stock and think that it's going to do like this. Now, I'm happy to sell someone an unmodified radio for a cheaper price if you want. But you can, your results may vary. You may buy one from somewhere else that does a little more power, does a little less. But if you buy one from me, roostercb.com, what you see in this video is a roundabout estimate of kind of what you can expect out of one of these. And we'll talk through it as we get into the performance side of it. But first things first, let's do what we always do and just talk about some of the controls that we've got here. And let me get me something to point with so I'm not using my grubby finger to point out the knobs. We'll just start left to right over here. So your talk back and RF power over here to the left. I like that those are kind of separated. We'll talk about the power adjustment here in a second. That's going to be, after the radio's been modified and tuned, that's going to be your dead key control, basically. If you don't have the radio modified, don't have a MPC, swing, average power mod, whatever you want to call it, then it will control your top end power as well on like a stock radio. Variable talkback, and we are on AM. Hello, audio, check, audio. So a good sounding talkback on it, and that's just coming through the internal speaker. Your echo and time controls are over here. As you can hear, we already tested our echo, so I'll go ahead and turn that off. Dial it all the way to the left. And then down here, mic gain and RF gain. I don't even know where our mic gain's set at. Looks like it was about 2 or 3 o'clock there, so we'll just turn it back and leave it where it was. RF gain for your receive, and then your dimmer and tone. Tone being for the receive end, dimmer. That's your tone there, and then your dimmer right here. So the dimmer is the outside knob. So let's turn that down to where the LEDs aren't knocking our lights out over here, knocking our eyeballs out. And then you can adjust the tone. Roger beep and plus 10K. So that works as it should. As you guys can see, we can split channel 19 here. Roger beep. There you go, for those that like to run a Roger beep. Moving over here, obviously you've got your 6-digit free counter up there, which is a must for most sideband operators. Your modes down here, PA, upper sideband, AM, lower sideband, FM. Your noise filter options here, and then your clarifier off and on. So you can turn the clarifier off and on there. Now, something I'll talk about the clarifier. Ranger has sent me a mod for people that want to get more range out of the clarifier on these. That's not going to be something I'll offer on every single one of them. If you want that done, it'll be just a little bit extra to mod the clarifier. Not going to be like a crazy fee or anything, but it is a little bit something extra. So I'll just demonstrate how they will come if you just buy one tuned and ready to go. And I'm going to be honest with you guys, that's really plenty of adjustment if you're trying to adjust somebody in to receive. But there are people that like to use, designated frequencies that are kind of in between your common channel. So the reason someone would want their clarifier modded is, like, let's say, instead of wanting to talk on 27205 or 27215, for whatever reason, they want to talk on 27210. Okay. So right now, you just can't quite, or, 27206. Let's say they want to do that, or 27207. Right now, you just can't quite dial in right there. But after the clarifier is modded, it gives you a lot more range. You guys kind of understand what I'm saying. Like, let's say here, the farthest you can go back right now is 27142. And the highest you can go up from right here is 27259, which again, for practical use, just for dialing somebody in on sideband, let's say you've got a friend that's a little off frequency or something, it's basically all you need. But if you're wanting to do other things with it, it would be nice to have a little more range. You got quite a bit of range in your channels here. And that's pretty much it. Squelch here, volume here. I mean, that's about all we can go over as far as the external controls of it. Pretty self-explanatory. Like I said, loaded with features on the 2547 platform. Really like these radios a lot, and I will be keeping one for myself. I got probably, I think I got a dozen or so of these in, so one of these is definitely going to stay with me. Power output wise, something I want to talk about before we do a power output demonstration. This radio, the power supply has an overload protection built into it. Now, how did I find that out? Well, you find it out the hard way when we have the sideband power adjusted too high on the radio. When you do that, it will shut the radio off if it's overdrawing the supply, and that's for your protection, to protect you from killing the power supply in this thing. Now, if you run this thing on DC, that's not something you want to worry about. But I want to talk about this because depending on the voltage coming out of your wall, and depending on, if you plan on running this on a power supply, you can set this radio up a little bit differently on the inside. If we were running it on an external power supply, you could run the sideband power basically wide open and you're not going to hurt anything. The rest of the radio will be fine. If you want to run it on the internal power supply, which again, that's why we're demonstrating the radio on the internal power supply, you want to adjust the sideband power a little bit, especially after the radio has been modified. What I mean by modified is if it's had, the most common mods done to it, MPC mods, average power mods, swing mods, super mods, something, they're basically all the same. People use, different components to get them to do a little bit differently. But once the radio's had one of those modifications done to it, you have to be kind of mindful of your sideband power adjustment on the inside of the radio. Now, where that adjustment is at, it is labeled right back here, almost the back center of the radio. So let's say you buy one of these from me or somebody else, and for whatever reason, it doesn't, you can run your RF power wide open here and it doesn't send it in protection. You get the radio and that's not the case. All you have to do is go in there and adjust that sideband power level. Just cut it back a little bit. So it works counterclockwise. Clockwise turns the power down. Counterclockwise turns the power up. Okay, just a little bit of a FYI before we get into the power output of this thing, because when we originally set these up, with the sideband power adjusted where we had it, you could only run it to about 11 o'clock, and then it would shut the radio off. It would just whoop. It would be like a protection. Shut it off. Comes back on. You would be good to go. But we want to avoid doing that altogether. So again, if you're running it on a power supply, you can turn the sideband power up a little bit higher. Running it off the stock power supply on the inside, then you'll have to back it down just a little bit, because the radio does have that protection built into it. So what we want to do first here is we're going to get into the power output portion of the video. Everybody's most popular section. How much power will it do? Well, let's start out on AM here. We're dead center here, AM, and we're just going to turn our RF power wide open there, and we'll see how it does. Let's turn our talk back off so we don't have to listen to ourselves twice. 250 watt slug, so we're going to be looking at the top scale. And that's about a 25-30 watt dead key. Now, do I recommend running that high? Probably not. You're probably never going to need to run this radio that high. Most people are not going to need to run the RF power that high, but it's there if you need it. Hello. And about 65 to 70 watts average power there. Now, PEP. Hello, audio check 1 2 3. Audio check 1 2 3. Audio. About 140 to 150 PEP. Now, while we're at it, let's just do the sideband test here. And again, if it does go into protection mode, we know we need to turn the RF power. We either have two options if it goes into protection mode. We can either back the RF power down on the outside of the radio for sideband, or we can go inside and adjust it there. Either way is fine. Accomplishes the same thing. This is on a sideband right here, and it looks like we're running real nice. Oh, let's see. We live. We're not on sideband yet. Now we're on sideband. Audio, check 1 2 3. Audio. How did I know? Because the power is going to be just a little bit less on sideband. So about 120. Audio, 1 2 3. Audio, 125, 120 on sideband. And again, our RF power is wide open, and we're not having that issue. Let's just go to lower sideband and test it there to make sure we're still not going to have any issues out of our RF power being wide open. Audio, 1 2 3. Audio, check 1 2 3. Audio, check 1 2 3. Audio. Okie dokie. Now this is your average power on sideband for those that care. Hello, audio. So on sideband, you're going to be limited to about 50 watts average, give or take there. Or again, if you want to run an external power supply, you can get a little bit more out of it. But running on the stock power supply, that's the safe place to be without putting your power supply in a bind. Now, AM, let's circle back to it. And what we're going to do is turn our RF power. Let's see if we can see. Let's go halfway with our RF power and see how it performs. So this is AM. RF power is halfway. We're still looking at the top scale. Hello. Still swinging good. While we're there, let's just go ahead and go down to about 9 o'clock. Now we're getting down there, 10 watts? Hello. Still swinging 50 average. PEP. Hello. Audio, 1 2 3. Audio, 1 2 3. Audio. Still swinging almost 150 PEP. Now let's turn it all the way down and see how it does. That's all the way down. We're literally keying almost nothing. Hello, audio. And of course, the average power is going to fall off some, but we still have some pretty good swing. And then PEP, audio, 1, 2, 3. Our PEP remains the same. Audio. Now, if you say, well, what happens if you add just a little bit of carrier to it? Can the average power come up if you add just a little bit of carrier? Well, let's see. Hello. So there you go. You guys see it for yourself. As soon as you put just a little bit of dead key back with it, that average power number comes back alive. Hello, check. 1, 2, 3, audio. Change our settings on our meter here. There's power, audio modulation, SWR. So there you guys go. That's the Ranger RCI 29 bass, compact base station that does a good amount of power, fan kit, 6-digit frequency counter, white LEDs. I mean, basically everything that you guys usually say that you'd like added to a radio, they went and did it on a compact frame here. So a lot of people say, man, I would buy it if it had a 6-digit on the frequency counter, or I would buy it if it had white LEDs in it from the factory, or that thing could really use a fan kit. I would buy it if it had a fan kit on it. Well, here you go. You've got it all built into one. And personally, I believe they're at an affordable price for everybody too, considering what all you get with this radio. RCI Ranger 29 Bass Plus. Let me know what you guys think. These will be listed up on the website today, roostercb.com. And hope you guys enjoy the video. Hope the little bit of extra information I added in there is helpful to somebody in the future. And as always, I appreciate everybody's support, appreciate everybody's business. Questions, comments, shoot me a text, 423-299-3535. And as always, check out the website, roostercb.com. Catch you guys out there. See you, bye.